Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So here's another deck profile for you guys today. This time it's actually on the new Machinas. So I actually picked up 3 structure decks and decided to put together a low budget variant of the Machina deck. Machinas are definitely a really good beginner's deck. It's a lot of fun to play. The deck actually has some pretty neat combos, and honestly, if comboed with the right cards, it could be a potential tier deck, like maybe tier 2 to rogue strategy. Who knows? It's definitely not going to be tier 1, I can tell you that much for sure. This deck is not a tier 1 strategy, but it's still a really good one at that. So, and honestly, I used to play Machinas back when it first came out, and I'm just happy that they released a new structure deck for it. So I figured I'd just show you guys what I got this time around. So Machinas follow a similar strategy to Scraps, where they target one of their own monsters and pop them just to summon out another one or just gain some form of advantage. And the deck is primarily Earth Machine, with the exception of one new one, but we'll get to that later. So, anyway, let me go and show you what this deck's all about. So, starting off with the main deck, it's just 40 cards, playing 3 copies of Machina Citadel. So, this card's pretty good. You cannot normal or set this card. All you can do is special summon this card by an effect. But he has his own effect that summons himself anyway, so that's never really a problem. And there's more than one way to bring this guy out. So, quick effect, you can target one machine monster you control, destroy that machine monster, and all monsters your opponent controls with attack less than or equal to that card just gets wiped out. So it's an in effect Raigeki. So, and it's a quick effect too. It's a good form of disruption. So definitely something to look into. And also, if a face-up Earth machine monster you control, except Machina Citadel, is destroyed by battle or card effect while this card is in your grave, you can special summon this card. So it brings itself back kind of in a similar fashion as Gizmek Orochi, so definitely a good card. Next up, 3 copies of Machina Air Raider. So this card's also one of the new ones. Easy to summon out too. You discard one other Machina monster, which actually a majority of the Machina monsters bring themselves out this way anyway. You summon this card out. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can target one machine monster you control, special summon from your deck one Machina with a different name, and equal or lower to the level of that monster that you target, but the targeted monster is destroyed, so just keep that in mind. But again, if Machina Citadel is already in your grave by the time you use this effect, that's perfect. You'll always have a board established, and you just keep gaining more and more advantage as you go along. Next, 3 copies of Machina Air Radiator. So basically the same card as Air Raider. The only difference is that where Machina Air Raider summons from the deck, this one actually summons from the graveyard. So definitely an amazing card. I love what it can do, so I'm happy that this is in the structure deck. Next, 3 copies of Machina Fortress. So this is the old school one. You discard one machine monster whose total levels equal 8 or more, and you can special summon this card for free. From hand or grave, by the way. So, and if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you can target one card your opponent controls and destroy that target. And before resolving an opponent's monster effect that targets this face-up card, you can look at your opponent's entire hand and discard one card from their hand. So your opponent really has to be careful with this card. So yeah, definitely an amazing card. Next up, one of our normal summons of the deck, actually. 3 copies of Machina Gear Frame. So this card has 2 different effects. The main one is that you basically search out a Machina monster, so it's a Stratos for the deck. And of course, once per turn, you can either target one machine monster you control and equip this card to that target, or unequip this card and special summon it. And if the equipped monster would be destroyed by battle or a card effect, you can destroy this card instead. So definitely has a good way to utilize its way to protect your monsters. So yeah, Gear Frame, definitely something to look into. Now, the only Machina monster that is not an Earth monster, it's actually a dark machine monster. It's Machina Possessed Source. So a really good card. If this card is normal or special summon, you can target a Machina monster in your grave, special summon in defense mode, but it cannot activate its effects this turn. But again, a lot of the effects are usually during your opponent's turn anyway, so it really doesn't matter. But you can target one other Machina monster you control and one spell and trap your opponent controls to return them to the hand, and you can only use each effect once per turn. Now, the neat thing about that is it's a good way to deal with floodgates, if you don't want to deal with any of them. But honestly, in all fairness, the whole deck's machine, so cards like there can only be one. That can be a bit of a problem, so just gotta watch out for that. A lot of people aren't running this in their low budget build, but I'm running it just because I actually think it's underrated. 1 copy of Machina Soldier. When this card is normal summon, you can, as long as you control no other monsters, you can special summon 1 additional Machina monster from your hand. So basically solid soldier. So that's the only reason why I'm running the 1 Machina Soldier. And then last for the Machinas, 1 copy of Megaform. So you can tribute this card to special summon 1 Machina monster from your hand or deck, but I also like to use it for discard fodder for Machina Fortress. It's searchable, so honestly that's one of the cool things about it. If a face-up Machina Fortress you control is sent to the graveyard while this card is in your grave, you can banish that Machina Fortress, special summon this card for free. So honestly, it's just a really good card, and it's just another way to keep a body on board. So yeah. And the last of our monsters is actually 3 copies of Scrap Recycler. So it's Foolish Burial for machine monsters, basically, and honestly, you can't go wrong with a Scrap Recycler. Alright, so that's it for the monsters. Now moving on to spells. Next, we're playing the new Machina Redeployment. So this is basically Melody of the Awakening Dragon for Machina cards. It searches out the monsters, the spells and traps, whatever you want. So honestly, you just discard 1 Machina monster and just like gain more advantage this way. Next up, 3 limited removal. This is a really powerful going second deck, so just keep in mind that this is where that deck shines, going second, and also you generally want to go for an easy OTK limiter removal. Is definitely the way to go about that. Next, 3 copies of Supply Squad, just for basic draw power, and since the cards basically pop themselves, it's a good way just to generate more advantage. 2 Cosmic Cyclone for backward removal. 1 Pot of Avarice. I didn't feel like you needed to run 3, honestly. I think 1 is more than enough, especially because you already have ways to recur the strategy anyway. Next, already moving on to traps right away, actually. 3 copies of Machina Overdrive. You generally just use this to banish and shuffle back any banished or in your graveyard machine monsters back into your deck and just shuffle your deck. And you also get to draw 1 card, so that's also pretty nice. But you can also it's also a back to the front card for machines too. So you target 1 machine monster you control, special summon 1 Machina monster with a different name from your hand or your deck, and if you do, destroy that targeted monster. So it's also pretty nice for that regard too. And last but not least, 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Why not? For a side deck, it was a little tricky to put together a side deck, honestly, I'll be honest with you, but I was able to come up with something, so here we go. So starting off with a side deck, playing 3 copies of Jasiriku. I'm not main decking this just because it's... in fact, if you watch Seema's video, he actually had a point about this, how it's a little tricky to get rid of if you give it to your opponent. So yeah, Jasiriku is just like, if you're going to run it, you might as well just run all 3 in your deck if you're going to do that. But honestly, like, Jasiriku is just good for spot removal, basically. Next up, 2 copies of Machina Soldier, in case if I do need them, you could always run more of them. But again, like, making a side deck out of this structure deck was a little tricky, so just work with me here. And 1 more copy of Possessed Storage. For the spells on the side, I'm running 3 copies of Ties of the Brethren. This is mainly for going first if I am forced to go first. But generally, yeah, it's just there to be there, really. 3 Unauthorized Reactivation. It's a new support card for Union monsters in general. Not just specific for Machinas, but you target a machine monster you control. It could 1 appropriate machine Union monster from your hand or your deck to that monster. But the Union monster you equipped cannot be special summoned that turn. But honestly, that's fine. Again, to me, that's just a going first card, so that's the only reason why I'm running it. 2 more Avarice, in case if I need that, and 1 more copy of Cyclone. But that's generally all I got there, so yeah. Well, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll be sure to post the Lair Darkness combo video soon, and I'll even do a combo video for the low budget build of Machina soon. So catch you guys until then.